Hey everybody, welcome back to the James Draws Everything show, and this is your host James, and today we're going to be doing another country's flag, and today we're going to be finishing off the Caucasus. Alright, so we did Azerbaijan, we did Georgia. That means today we're doing landlocked good old Armenia. Alright, so Armenia, very old civilization, home to what archaeologists believe to possibly be the first wine, as well as the first shoes. So, very old civilization, and with that does come with a lot of scars, and we will get into all of that when we talk about the history. So, the Caucasus region, it's always sort of in between greater powers, and Armenia's history, it's going to be a little similar to that of like Azerbaijan and Georgia. It's kind of due to the geography there. Very early Bronze Age civilizations have been found, kind of getting past that towards like the modern times. You got like the Persians, Christians. The Christianity comes in like 300 AD. So it is actually the first established Christian state. So the state of Armenia did adopt Christianity around 300, and that's kind of been a part of its identity pretty much ever since. Not without some struggles and the issues that came with that. So again, just sort of due to the geography of the location, they were always kind of passed back and forth between Islamic caliphates, between the Byzantine Empire, and then of course you can't be in that part of the world without getting a knock on the door from the Mongols, right? So as the great hordes of Khan were expanding, the Caucasus region, very close right there to Central Asia, so they had a little bit of influence. One thing though about the Armenian state, possibly due to that, the shared heritage, being the first Christian nation. Not all the time, but a lot of the time, they did get to have some autonomy, right? When they were kind of passed around, between their masters, because again, you have a lot of Islamic influence, a lot of just greater power politics. So during the rise of the Ottoman Empire, this place is of course pretty much right next to Turkey. So the Turks are going to have a very big voice in that region. And we're skipping through a lot here, but getting into like more towards the modern age, like we're talking 19th century, you have some Russo-Persian wars, right? So Russia and what is now Iran are going to war, and this place plays a big part in that, and this leads to a Russian Armenia, right? So this is kind of where you see the seeds of the Armenian Russian relationship form, and we talked about that a little bit in our Serbia episode, and you can see Serbia right there. Armenia has always also kind of enjoyed a very close relationship with Russia, and that even kind of goes into the Soviet days, which we'll get into. So back to the Turks, right? So you have in the lead up to World War One, you do have a lot of Turkish resentment towards these Armenian people. Right, the Armenians were always, kind of heavily taxed by the Ottoman Turks, right? And I'm not like a hater of the Ottoman Empire, right? I've gone on record many a time on this channel saying that it kind of worked better than what came after it. And yeah, this is where like kind of revisionism sort of in like how do I put this? Because revisionism is good if you're correcting something, right? But this is where revisionism is like like the kind of more of like to tilt like an ideological position on things. So they do kind of sell it now. This is if you're really inhaling that 2002 George W. Bush era war on terror stuff, they'll sell this that was like a great war between Christianity and Islam, which really isn't true. It does get very complicated, but yeah. So leading up to the Armenian genocide, there was a lot of resentment because Turkic people tended to be very much more of like a martial class than the Armenians were. The Armenians were definitely more of like merchant minded, and so that kind of put them at odds. There was some jealousy and resentment there, and then of course on the Armenian side as well, because they're made to pay all these undue tributes and whatnot. This leads to kind of going into the again and leading up into World War One. There is a massive relocation of Armenian people by some new movements in Turkey, right? Because the Ottoman Empire still exists, but it is on its very, very last legs. And you often hear it referred to as the sick patient of Europe, right? Because there's a lot of alliances being made in Europe and in the world, and the Ottomans were kind of left out. They sort of get thrown into the arms of the Germans. They sort of don't. But yeah, that leaves Armenia sort of in a rough spot, because Armenia, for a lot of the same reasons as the Serbs, they become very friendly with Russia, right? Because Russia wants access to warm water ports in that area, so they'll have to have allies like either in the Balkans or in kind of near Anatolia, the Caucasus. So you do see a uprising, like a youth movement, the CUP, the Committee for the Union of Progress, and that is not in Russia or Armenia. No, that is in the Ottoman Empire, right? And that really doesn't sound like an Islamic thing, because it wasn't. It was a very secular movement that was kind of gave birth to the Young Turks, right? So the Young Turks who carried out this genocide, right? They despised the Armenian people. A lot of it, some of it had to do with, the Armenians getting buddy-buddy with Russia, because, Russia was going to be at odds with the Ottoman Empire, and, kind of played a big part in carving them up towards the end of the 19th century, or leading to the carve-up. So, yeah, there's a lot of different grudges going on. It's not just simply like a religious thing, right? Like your religion versus our religion, or this versus that. But we'll get into a little bit more about that, but because I'm going to do some bonus content here. But let's just finish this flag real quick before I do the bonus content. So you got equal bands of red, blue, and orange. So the red recalls the bloodshed for liberty, blue the Armenian skies as well as hope, and orange is the land and the courage of the workers who farm it. All right, so that's the flag. And for the bonus content today, I am going to draw the Armenian Genocide Memorial that's in Yerevan in Armenia, because it is kind of one of those sort of oddly designed, like kind of modern looking things. Let's just see here. But yeah, as far as like, so I left off there. Yeah, the Armenian people, it's, you know, it's one of the bigger kind of genocides of the 20th century, right? Because what the Young Turks did was, you know, they made them, you know, move, but, you know, they weren't given any kind of adequate, you know, food or, you know, cover from exposure, you know, to the elements and stuff like that. So, like, you know, it was one of those things where, you know, they can say that they were being relocated or whatever, but, you know, you know what they were doing, right? So, and again, it's definitely like a bit of a, you know, bit of a touchy subject today, with the Armenians and the Turks, right? So, you know, the Turkish government has denied that. Until very recently, they've been a little bit more open about it and, you know, kind of acknowledging the history. But again, this is one of those things where, you know, you could say that, you know, the Armenians were colluding with like a foreign power in Russia. And to kind of play off that, when Armenia gains independence after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, right? And if you listen to my channel, any of these former Soviet socialist republics, right, what happens? They get taken over by the Soviet Union, right away. So the Armenian Republic did not last for very long, but because of the friendly relationship with Armenia, you know, and the Russians, because, you know, the Russians were always kind of seen as the protectors of Armenia, they weren't as hostile, right, to like to the communist powers that were taking over. It was almost kind of seen as like you know, a relief, like, you know, to get out from under the you know, the Ottoman Empire, which was not the same as, you know, like the Young Turks, but, you know, the CUP that founded them came out of that. So yeah, definitely more complicated than just a war of religion. You know, I know they always kind of, they teach that now because, you know, everybody likes to look at the world in terms of black and white and good guys and bad guys and all that, but we don't do that here, right? So yeah, the Armenia, and also its its neighbors in the Caucasus there, Azerbaijan and Georgia. There's a very briefly held together Trans-Caucasus Republic in the USSR, but that's split up after just a few years, early into the Soviet history, to make room, or to make the three Caucasus countries separate, make them their own SSRs. Okay, let's put some shadows on here. Yeah, so Armenia does it does gain independence from the Soviet Union, you know, pretty much when everybody else does. They've always kind of had a long-standing conflict with their neighbors in Azerbaijan over the Nagorno-Karabakh region, and that's still a hot spot to this day. A lot of ethnic Armenians are in that area. You know, it's not much different than like a Balkan situation. Yeah, so, and this was even happening like during the Soviet Union. It's kind of puts them at odds with Turkey. Yeah, it's kind of one of those states where, unfortunately, you know, they don't really have too many allies as far as like, you know, quote unquote, like who's on like the USA's good side list. But yeah, that's Armenia for you. And yeah, there's a huge, you know, of course, because of this, right, there's a huge expat population, you know, of like Armenians like living elsewhere. And I think like in the United States, like there's more like Armenians than in actual Armenia now. So be that as it may. And yeah, the the United States, right, like Armenian groups in the United States, they did start a monument project in the United States as well, but yeah, that was started in 2000, and it's just never been finished. That's kind of weird, right? Uncomfortable silence for those genocide memorials, right? But yeah, I guess there's no rush to get that one done. You know, even though America, right, still a majority Christian nation, and Christian peoples killed in that genocide, but yeah, they don't. No rush to get that one done. Ooh, hot water, James. All right, change of topic. Yeah, so this is again, this is in Yerevan. It's a a monument to the genocide. I'm gonna try to pronounce it to Sitskanakabird. Yeah, my Armenian language probably not too good there, but yeah, that's what it looks like. So if you want to go check it out, that's what it looks like, and yeah, modern architecture and all that. But that's the flag, and there's a little history. So let me know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next video.